I'd like to continue our journey with George Harrison as George is seeking for kind of a deeper understanding of who he is and what life is about. And so at this point in his life, George has just completed the Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club album. Uh, it was released in June of 1967, and it rose to number one in the United States and Britain. It was hailed really as a great achievement. It took 6 months of studio work and 700 hours. So you can see the amount of work that was put into this album was amazing. George, when he reflected on his faith, looked at religious practice, and he was really upset in the sense that what he saw was that for most people, religion was something just for Sundays. And George was like, if religion is so important and if faith is so significant, why is it something just for one day a week? That didn't make sense to George. After the album was completed, the Beatles went on a trip to Greece. George and John were singing the Hare Krishna mantra over and over, known in India as the Maha mantra, which has been sung for over 5,000 years. When you think of that tradition of that Hare Krishna mantra, it is awesome. It is amazing that it has gone back so far in history, and really the essence of it is to bring peace to people, to give people a sense of tranquility, a sense of order in their life, a sense of harmony with the world, with one another. George was turned off by a trip he made to the Haight-Ashbury section of San Francisco. During that time, Summer of Love, as it was called, people were going to Haight-Ashbury, and so George went just to see, well, what was this like? What was this about? Were these people really finding something that was important and significant in life? George was offered LSD when he was there. He turned it down. He was like, not impressed with what was happening at Haight-Ashbury. He didn't sense the peacefulness. He didn't sense the harmony about this, and he was turned off by his experience there. Indian music, he felt, could be used to bring people together through communal chanting and meditation. And so what happens as you chant with other people, you get this sense of unity with others. And people come together through the chanting, through the meditation. And we see it, of course, in Western religious traditions as well. We see our Cistercians, the Trappists who pray the Liturgy of the Hours, Benedictines, other religious traditions. They pray this together. It brings a sense of unity, this praying of the Psalms, this singing together. We see it at our liturgies. We see the sense that happens when the whole congregation is singing together passionately. I was at a liturgy recently and I was so impressed because love to sing, love to participate, but everyone was participating, everyone was singing, which doesn't unfortunately always happen at our Sunday liturgies, but this particular one was a Sunday liturgy, and it was a congregation that was very involved, very passionate about their faith, and the singing together was really beautiful. And so George felt that Indian music could provide that sense of community, that sense of unity. The Maharishi, Mahesh Yogi, greatly influenced George. Maharishi got a degree in physics and then turned to meditation, so a very intelligent man, and really said that this degree in physics was important, it was significant, it was helpful, but he was looking for something beyond. So he found it in meditation. Patty encouraged George to go to one of Maharishi's lectures. The mantra is based on two words, man, mind, and Traya, liberation. So, what is mantra? It is the liberation, the freeing of our mind. Our mind can get bogged down with all sorts of craziness, all sorts of distractions. So, mantra, what does it do? It frees the mind. It helps us to really become one with all of creation, one with everyone, and one, most significantly, with ourselves. Helps us to find that inner peace. Repeating a mantra does several things. It calms the mind which can really be all over the place and really involved with all sorts of different thoughts and worries and concerns, needs a sense of calm, sense of slowing down. And the mantra does that, helps the mind to focus. We see this also in our prayer tradition with something like the rosary, right? The rosary, the repeating of the prayer, helps us to find this sense of calm, sense of peacefulness. We can have all these distractions as we're praying, but it's that sense of, I'm going to slow down now as I repeat the prayer. People do it with the Jesus prayer, another way of slowing down. People do it with the Divine Mercy prayer, and they slowing down, calming down at the mind. It's the first thing a mantra can accomplish. Second is that it can bring us inner peace. That as we slow down, as we calm down, all of those worries which seem so overwhelming to us don't seem quite so difficult. So we calm down and we find this inner peacefulness. And it is beautiful. And it is refreshing. It is renewing. So the mantra helps us with that. After the lecture that George attended with the Maharishi invited the Beatles. He said, why don't you come for a retreat for 10 days? The Beatles went along, and also the singer Donovan Leitch and 3 other students. So it was quite a group that went to go on retreat with the Maharishi. On the first day of the retreat, the Beatles received a call that Brian Epstein had died. It was determined later that it was from an accidental overdose of sleeping pills, unfortunately. So they attended a special service for Brian on October 17th, 1967, at the New London Synagogue. George felt guilty that he did not help his friend. He had the sense that, well, maybe if I had reached out to Brian, maybe if I had shared this peace that I have found more with Brian, maybe he wouldn't have needed the sleeping pills. Maybe he would have found a sense of calm in his life. Because there was a tremendous friendship between Brian and the Beatles. So it was a very difficult moment for them all, but I think especially for George. The Maharishi invited the Beatles to this retreat in Rishikesh, India. George and Patty went, John and his wife Cynthia, Paul and his fiancée Jane Asher, Ringo and his wife Maureen, the Beatles' role manager Mal Evans and Donovan Leitch, and they all attended in February of 1968. George spoke with a Canadian young man he met on the retreat, Paul Saltzman. He told Paul that all the success the Beatles attained meant nothing if you did not have inner peace. George thought that this could be acquired through meditation. George met Mia Farrow during the retreat. She had come with her younger sister, Prudence, and they established a very close relationship. George also had a wonderful encounter with nature at the retreat. John and Paul used their time to compose over 40 songs, many of which would appear on the White Album and also on the Abbey Road album. So the retreat was helpful in 2 ways: to find inner peace and also to help with music. George really, at this point in his life, feels he has found something that is very valuable and very helpful, and something that can be part of his life in an ongoing way.